discussed yesterday important issues. What are now the new conditions? So what is the new context within which training takes place? This was discussed yesterday and the day after. And I think it is important to continue this discussion. So I will touch up on this. And the second issue is I will also touch up on the framework conditions that you are now creating and which have to match together. So what is this change context? For those who followed today, the side event, Atlantic Pole-to-Pole Climate Science to Policy, where John Bell has been speaking, and thank you, Isabel, I know that you were there also talking and promoting this event here. John, you might have heard John saying, we have become teenagers of society and need to be renaturalized citizens. This was quite a strong statement, and I thought today, why would I like now to share this statement with you? And why does it fit, I think, in the context within which you are now working? Well, first of all, it concerns us all. We do now have a collective responsibility, everyone, of course, to his or her work, culture, mandate, geographical location, etc. But we need to give now collectively new directions, and particularly you, as managers, as trainers, as mentors, as coach, you will be called up and accompany the younger generation to manage the just transitions, the green and blue and digital transitions. We are all now living in a time of recovery. Building resilience will be crucial. Inclusiveness, equal opportunities, and achieving this resilience, social fairness, but also well-being and prosperity. So those should not be just the empty shells, the empty words that are very often put into statements and speeches. I think those are really now concepts which we need all to integrate even more in what we do, in all our daily work. And knowledge production comes also, of course, with accountability. On the one side, it's accountability towards those who provide the funding, but even more so, it is really accountability towards society, because society needs the science-based advice. They need the science-based tools to improve really the different everyday life. I'm not sure whether I'm still online because all of a sudden you disappeared. Am I still online?
Yes.
Okay. So in the session that Isabel and myself attended, there was about many others, of course, I think the most important sentence was probably, we need a systems approach. It was interesting to hear to this systems approach, because if I look back a couple of years ago, people avoided to talk about systems approaches because it also meant a hidden way of changing working approaches. But this is for some other discussions. But now more and more we talk about a systems approach, and they need to strengthen knowledge about the interaction between ocean and climate change, ocean and food, ocean and energy. And also this will enable us to look into the connection between ocean and space, ocean and weather, through the use of advanced Earth observation systems and their integration with in-situ ocean sensors, scientific knowledge and information, of course, along the water column and the deep ocean, let alone the coastal zone. But all this needs to be complemented by advanced, user-driven, citizens-based information systems. And in this very specific all-Atlantic context, this is geographically, this wide geographical context, when we refer from pole to pole, this becomes even more complex. And if you add the need for artificial intelligence, enhanced accessibility to data sets, and how this will be managed, and how this can be managed about the Atlantic Ocean and the ecological impact it is facing, you embark quite in a very challenging endeavor here. But against this complex background, and albeit this is your daily bread and butter, you decided to create framework conditions where the young generation can be trained, exposed to real-time experiments and hands-on experience. What it really means and entails actually to become a marine scientist or an oceanographer, or something slightly different, an ocean communicator. You embarked on this new journey with your vessels and your own means. You translated what we included when the Galway and the Belem statements were signed, namely, and here I quote, it's not exactly a quote, but it's because it's differently included. It's optimizing the use of research infrastructures, providing reciprocal access, development of human capacity building, foster mobility, training of early career researchers. And all this, I wanted to share this with you because when these sentences were included in these two statements, it took us quite a long time to agree because reciprocal access to infrastructures is not a given. And that is why it is even more laudable now that you manage and you carry on and want to do this. And I remember when the Commissioner Moedas, when the Belem statement was launched in his speech in Lisbon in the Belem Tower, he referred to the floating university and wanted this to happen. So he's probably happy, Luis, if you tell him that you are going to make this happen now. This is a very promising beginning, but it will need your conviction, your engagement to bring this to a level where such a floating university training can become a module to be included within your institutional cultures. Otherwise, it can remain linked to a project, and as we discussed the day before, when the project finishes, then everything might really collapse. So there are many existing opportunities already and experiences of agreed credits or the unité mixte between France and some international partners, where universities can actually develop these joint models, which can be institutionalized and can be credited to the students. And I think this would be something really which I personally would like to give you as a great ambitious objective. And it could then become the normal way of training, to be really a fixed part. And it will be very important now to link whatever you do to the joint actions which are supported by the Anchor project, but also to the many other ongoing projects. And I know project time is limited, but for the moment, this is a good start. And actually, it is, thank God, to the Eurofleets that this is starting, and you have agreed to put your own money in. This is also something which should not be neglected. Let me share two last recommendations. We touched upon this yesterday, but it's very important. For the training, do not forget the technicians, those which are really in more informal settings of learning. They also need to be included because we talk about inclusiveness. And do not forget about a totally different target group, which are the policymakers, which can be journalists, which can be public opinion makers. Bring them on your vessels, show them what the ocean means and why the ocean is so really important. I'm sure it will be payoff. Your investment will really pay off. So please map out what you need to get these framework conditions right and bring it back in form of recommendations to the co-chairs of the respective Belem and Galway statements. This is the right way to go ahead and ensure here a meeting of minds between your efforts and the political leadership. And last but not least, I wanted also to share one other thought, as I followed partly the VCOPS event yesterday and also this morning, that was brilliantly managed by KDM, by Stefan, Isabel, and Sandra. It was really uplifting to see those fantastic young people on their journey from the Atlantic Ocean to the world. They know how they can best connect and what their needs are. So we need to listen to them, because it will be, no doubt, very important to listen and translate their needs into the trainings that you will going to deliver. And you will make certainly a big difference for them and from their career. And with that, I wish you a very successful launch today and a lot of success in future. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Thank you so much, Sigi. So now Werner. Werner is going to give us a short presentation of the framework in which the floating university is inserted, which is a framework of the Anchor project. Particularly is going to tell you about Work Package 3 and about the All-Atlantic training platform on which we will be not only doing floating universities, but also other types of training and for technicians, and also for producing also summer schools and things like that. Please, Werner.
Yeah, thank you, Luis. Thank you for inviting me. I will try to set the stage for the activity Floating Universities Network. So the whole thing is embedded into the Work Package 3 of the Anchor project, and that is on capacity development. And this, there's a couple of people that have worked on this strategically, plus about 50 stakeholders and experts. The main goal, and that was identified during the first workshops that we had, was that there is a lack in connectivity between the different training, education, capacity development activities on both sides of the Atlantic. And the aim is to maximize the effectiveness of existing capacity capacity development activities, because there is a lot around in projects, in programs, etc., at universities, at institutes. And just to link them and to develop synergies between these programs, utilizing existing infrastructure like ships or training hubs or all kinds of equipment, etc. And also, and this is also something that we identified or that we discussed, we also need to find new ways of training for marine and maritime professionals. And Ziggy already mentioned that in one of her last sentences. We need to bring people that are not marine scientists to these courses on board, for example, etc., so that they understand what's the ocean and what is the importance of the ocean for us. The whole thing should then, somehow be attached and go along with the UN Decade on Ocean Science. This is a very good and important. Let's say it's a PR event. This Ocean Decade attracts a lot of attention from all people, and we should use that to really promote this kind of cooperation and capacity development. There are three activities that we followed, that we developed. One is a kind of a platform, organizing hub for capacity building measures in marine science. So we are just, this is just under discussion how we organize that, how we can implement this kind of thing. And another part is this All-Atlantic Floating University Network that Luis is mainly driving here. But what we also found is that there is a large gap in capacity development of technicians in ocean technology. So we also need, we do not just need to address marine scientists and administrators, also technicians that are working day to day on a daily basis with the equipment, with very sophisticated equipment. This is just how we thought such a hub or a platform could look like, more or less. If you think this is complicated, I can show you that it can be even more complicated, because what we want to do is really to bring all players together. Different programs. On left-hand side, you see EU projects that are working already across Atlantic. We have the other work packages that we want to bring in, ocean citizen science or awareness, common standards in data of data, etc., knowledge transfer and infrastructure. So this should really be something that brings together the many partners and stakeholders that are acting in marine or maritime science. So what we want is more cooperation or collaboration of EU projects to lessen the gaps in knowledge transfer, better trained young scientists and technicians. I think this is quite a new aspect in all this training. Most of the training is going towards early career scientists, and we think that we have to move beyond that, include technicians and then administrators, etc., practitioners, and then look for synergies among training activities. And this may be a kind of a repetition. It should be a contribution to the ocean decade. We had a kickoff conference last Monday, Tuesday, where we discussed this, mainly the platform, but also floating universities, summer schools, etc. And that is, what we did there. And where we are working on now is to bring this all together and to summarize it. Main question was how to structure and organize such a platform, how to integrate other programs. So we don't want to compete with these programs. I think this is a very important message. We don't want to compete with POGO or IOC Ocean Teacher or the activities in the other EU sister projects. We want to just bring these together and by that optimize financial and the use of financial and human resources. And we also want to cooperate with the other anchor work packages. So what we believe is that we will have to implement a permanent structure to organize this platform. And that is something that we are discussing. This is underway. There can be different models that we have discussed. But this is something that will definitely then go into a second phase of discussion during another 1 or 2 meetings that we will have. And the need for, and one thing was very clear that came out, and this will be something that will be done during the next, the anchor project is another 12 months. We have to develop a long-term strategy how to do that, but with flexible solutions for short-term activities. I think this is important, long-term strategy, but flexible short-term solutions. And I had, I think, 5 minutes, so I hope I didn't go too far.
Thank you very much, Werner. So now can you stop sharing your screen? Okay.
Yes.
So now it will be me. So I hope you can all see my screen. Okay, so why are we doing this floating university? So the first thing, I think you can all hear me, I hope so. Okay, so the main thing that we want to do here is we need training at sea. This is something absolutely critical. If we want to create this new generation ocean, people need to be able to go to sea. They need to be able to practice with real equipment. And so this is something that we really want to do. And this is, as mentioned before, not only for scientists, but also for technicians. And this, we have a great opportunity now because there are many programs already, several programs, a lot of them are represented here in this meeting, that are going on across the Atlantic, all along the Atlantic as well, which are already highly successful. They are funded and they do their own training. And many of them are already opening some berths to accommodate people from young students from other countries. Many of these have been announced, for instance, in platforms like Pogo, and so this is already happening. Also, the idea is that we jointly identify and address capacity development gaps and needs across the Atlantic, particularly looking at the needs from developing countries. So we need your input also on what would be really key issues on which you should do. Of course, all this is also complemented by things like the Ocean Teacher Global Academy, on which there are plenty of courses, many of them highly practical, which are done online now at this moment, and which most countries can access, all countries can access them, and they are free. So we can complement those courses now with this training at sea as well. The other thing that we want to do is to promote a transatlantic innovative and targeted training at sea. And we want to share best practices. As you will see, some of the programs, for instance, in Brazil, some of the students, this is that they have dedicated programs to undergraduates. Other programs are more dedicated for technicians. Other programs are dedicated for young researchers. So we have a full spectrum of different types of training already happening in the Atlantic. And this is where we want to build on. So what we want to do is to encourage also new training at sea programs in countries where they do not yet exist. So if you join this network, even if you don't have a training at sea going on, you can learn from our experience. We propose creating your own system as well, and remember. So the other thing we want to do is, as already mentioned by Siggy as well, is that we want also to include opportunities for science policy dialogue at sea. So bringing some of the people who are responsible for funding on some of these cruises, it's highly important so that they understand what scientific research at sea is like, and they are able to better understand why they should fund it as well. This includes, of course, social sciences, people from social science journals, and so on. What we can do with all this spectrum of different training in the Atlantic is we have complementarities in terms of themes and in terms of calendar. So several of these are happening all along the year. And the idea is that we contribute, of course, to the Belem and Galway statements, and that many of the cruise objectives are aligned also with the objectives of the decade. So where are we now? So we have done an exploratory meeting in the 7th of May with several coordinators of these programs. Now we are having this event on which we want to know each other. And in mid-June, we'll circulate terms of reference along the network for the people who have these programs, and we'll jointly co-design how we want it to work. In September, we'll have the first network meeting, and we are already preparing demonstration actions. Actually, in July 22, there is already a training workshop that will happen on the Agulhas in the Seamaster cruise in South Africa. And so we have already 2 other cruises on German vessels, on the Marianne and on the Polarstern, that will also happen in this period, and they will have people on board. Now we have Neurofleets also going on, also Neurofleets cruise. So there are plenty of opportunities. So this is where I stop, and I would now ask Aidan to give his presentation. Sorry, I'll just stop sharing my screen. Okay. So Aidan is coordinating now the Eurofleets program, and where we have a component of floating universities as well. And he is also involved with ERVO, which is an example on how European research vessel operators having meetings together and sharing ideas. For instance, they came up with new plans for new ships, discussing standards that would be applicable to different ships. So, Aidan, you have the floor.
Good afternoon. I'm just trying to see if you can see my slideshow.
Not yet. Sorry, I noticed I was muted. So.
Sorry, just bear with me a moment, trying to figure out which screen is doing what. So just give me one moment to get the correct screen to show. Just give me 2 seconds, sorry. Just trying to get this.
Things happen. We have, can we help somehow in? So it's just looking for the right screen, yes?
I have so many applications open and getting confused. Okay.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay, can you see that PowerPoint?
Yes.
Great. Okay, so I'm going to give you an update on Eurofleet's training at sea and various cooperation networks. The objectives of the Eurofleet's training at sea objectives are to build capacity in European ocean science research through floating universities and workshops. They're targeted at postgraduate students, early stage researchers and professionals, and they aim to facilitate the transfer of knowledge and technology through exchange of staff and mobility of industry personnel. The objective is to increase participation of women in ocean science along with users from less equipped countries. And they're aimed at postgraduate students undertaking MSc or PhD studies, and the 360-degree training approach of both onshore and offshore training days. This is part of our work package 6, education and training. So just looking at the disciplines. So just to go back on the previous Eurofleets, in Eurofleets 1 from 2009 to 2013, we had 5 floating universities. And then in Eurofleets 2, in cooperation with SMART, we ran 4 floating universities. And there's 5 planned for this current 2019 to 23 Eurofleets Plus. So the disciplines are fisheries, oceanography, multidisciplinary floating universities, hydrographic, multi-beam, and they look at use of equipment and specialist courses. So just looking at the training at sea summary, so we've had 160 course participants from South and North and Central America, Africa, a lot of Europe and Russia and Asia. And here's the breakdown of the various vessels that were involved to date. So the Celtic Voyager, the Geosars, the Salme, the Urania, the Oceania, the Skagerrak, the Mario Rubio, and the RV Bios Diva 2. So for the upcoming ones, we have completed one of the Celtic Voyager in 2020, just before the world fell asunder. The next one is planned for the RV Oceania in May, June 2021. And it's a transit from Gdansk to Tromsø, and it's a multidisciplinary cruise. And then the RV Mario Rubio has been closed in summer 2021 and awarded, and it's to happen in autumn 2021 and is focused on fisheries, including Nephrops fisheries. And then CNR in Italy's RV Dalla Porta, it's to be scheduled in summer 2022, and that's in collaboration with the EuroArgo, and it's an oceanography focus. And then the RV Skagerrak from Gothenburg in Sweden, on a date to be confirmed, is going to look at hydroacoustics, glider and ROV data, and focus on robotics. So the resources that we have to allow us to provide these courses include one of our deliverables from our deliverable 6.1, which is the training toolkit for course directors. That involves details and support for course planning, development of materials, follow-up e-modules, and various templates for the call, the application form, pre and post, and module description, course evaluations, etc. And then for students, we have an online training resource in the Eurofleets Plus website with lecture notes, videos, presentations, webinars, and various guidelines. See some examples here. And then we have other upcoming training opportunities, including labs. So we've the second of 2 ROV labs with Maritime to be held in 2022. You can see the previous one here. Another AUV lab with University of Gothenburg in 2022. We had one in 2019, which is very successful with our brand new Cuban ROV. There's a seismic lab planned with OGS in Q3 of this year. There are the development of telepresence technology and training guidelines in Q1 of next year. And then we have published toolkits for young researchers. So other training elements of that work package are the Marine Internship Program, Personnel Exchange Program, Teacher at Sea, Transnational Access Application webinars, and our Ocean Classroom portal. So that's a quick 5 minutes on the training activities within Eurofleet.
Thank you so much, Aidan, for an exciting talk. And now we have Karim, who's going to tell us about the importance of training at sea for African countries. Karim is the vice chair of IOC, and is the representative, is the chair of the African group. Karim, can you share your screen?
Yes, thank you, Luis.
We are slightly behind time, so it's good if you can prepare sharing your screen just before, and so that when it's time, you just click on the screen.
Okay. I don't know if you can see it now.
We are seeing just not the right screen.
Oh, sure.
Yes.
Okay, it's good now.
No, we can still see your folder.
Yes.
Ah, okay. Sorry. Anyway, okay.
Can you?
Yes, sorry for that. Because I have here my presentation, but maybe, yes, thank you. Sorry for that.
I think you have to stop sharing screen and start again, picking the correct
Okay.
screen one.
Karim, if you want, I can share it for you.
Okay, please.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Okay, thank you very much. Good afternoon, dear colleagues. Thank you.
Are you seeing?
Thank you, Luis, for inviting me, and also to have the opportunity to participate on this great event, side events. And nice to see all the colleagues, particularly Sigi. Yes, I take this opportunity to present the importance of training at sea, and of course, in the context of IUC subcommission for Africa adjacency, we promote the regional and international cooperation for understanding management African oceans, and to focus on coastal ecosystems. And please, if you can share the next slide, please. So, of course, the focusing on IUC on behalf of IUC Africa and IUC Secretariat, we focus on ocean observation, data information management. So we focus, of course, on, for example, sea level station is already installed with IUC support. Focus on oceanographic surveys, training course on some research vessel. We'll mention here for South Africa and Kenya. Maybe we can have some presentation of some colleagues on South Africa for that. We have a good collaboration with also Nansen program in so oceanographic surveys in Dr. Fridge of Nansen. Maybe Miret will speak about it more than in this side events. We have some opportunities, training opportunities with Pogo. I know we have some colleagues from Pogo, and for example, I gave the opportunity with Morocco, for example, we signed specific convention with Pogo. And of course, focus on ocean data information network for Africa institution, member states, and so on, databases capacity development. So about observation, we focus on coastal observation network. Of course, analysis, interpretation, publication of data, ocean information hub, and the joint cruises in West Africa mainly. For example, you have in front of you some some cases for the South Africa and western part. And of course, we begin to have a great opportunity for western part of Africa with some institution. So I take this opportunity to that we have some. I would like to thank all the colleagues who speaks about the other of course other experience, and we are here of course to be open to all the initiative for that. Thank you, Luis. Thank you very much.
Karim. So now we will go into some of the programs that are already being run. Well, we had already the Eurofleet, and Isabel and Sork, she cannot be here today. She's busy with something else, but Talia is going to give us a presentation on the semester program in South Africa. So Talia, if you can.
Sure. Hi, Louise. There we go. Can everyone see that?
Yes.
Yeah, we've got it.
Okay, excellent. All right, my name is Talia Henry, and as Louisa said, I'll be presenting on behalf of Isabel, who unfortunately can't be here this evening, but she's the head of oceanography and I'm the semester coordinator. So we've titled our talk, The Strengthening of Ocean Sciences at the Tip of Africa, and essentially this is the heart and soul of what semester is. So why the need for it? So formerly known as Department of Science and Technology, they put out this global grand challenge to explore platforms like semester to attract young researchers to the region, most importantly to retain them within this region by exciting their interest in aspects of global change, while also developing their capacity and professional skills in the relevant skills of investigation. And this was the perfect platform to start up semester 5 years ago. So the essence of semester is we take university students from all over South Africa, as indicated by the green and red dots. We've also taken students from Namibia and Mozambique, and we take them aboard the SA Gullis 2, seen in the bottom of the corner, or bottom right here, which is South Africa's flagship marine vessel, polar vessel. And they sail with us for 10 days aboard the SA Gullis 2 doing multidisciplinary research. They get really intense lectures on board, as well as great practical experience. CMS is also at the forefront of transformation. So we prioritize our African students, particularly females within marine science, and try and get a good spread, particularly for those that have been previously disadvantaged and would not have normally had an opportunity to do something like this. So the essence of semester is given that some of our students don't have an oceanographic background, we do overarching lectures that's compulsory for everybody every single morning after our debrief, which will cover ocean and atmospheric dynamics. And that's given by myself and Isabel. And then prior to applying to semester, students can then decide whether they want to be part of two various streams. So oceans in a changing climate being one, and the other being tools of the trade. And tools of the trade is a more hands-on marine instrumentation-based stream, and the other, ocean in a changing world, focuses on the global carbon cycle and life in the sea. So this is just an example of one of our timetables, and this is for oceans in a changing climate. It's quite intense. But yeah, so we've got our overview lectures that happen every single morning to give principles of oceanography. And then we split into our different streams, where part of one stream will do lectures in the morning and practical in the afternoon, and they'll stop over. So there's a variety of lectures that we offer. The lectures are obviously on board. And every lecture has a practical component as well as an assignment, which is then handed in at the end of the voyage. So for example, if they do marine mammal diversity, that afternoon they'll do a dissection. Or if we do astronomy, that evening we'll do stargazing. So in conjunction with semester, we also have a ASCO array, which is a science program. So ASCO stands for Agulhas System Climate Array, indicated by the yellow line. So there's a science team that's working round the clock, and students are able to interact with them, see what it's like being on board a research vessel during an actual expedition, and get hands-on training. So these are just some images of our students working.
We lost you, Talia. We lost your sound. We can see. Yes, you're back again.
Am I unmuted?
Yes, you were muted, and we stopped listening to you, but please go on.
Oh, sorry. Okay. So yeah, these are just a couple of images. This is Isabel, busy explaining ADCP track to some of our students. There we go. This is prior to a dissection that's about to happen. You can see some of the crew also wanted to get involved and see what's going on. And I know we absolutely love this image. And this is just kind of a good picture of what semester is like, where students are able to interact with their with the lecturers on a daily basis, and they've actually caught one of the lecturers after dinner in the stairwell to find out more about their assignment. And then, yeah, a bit of feedback from our students. We find that it's students that don't normally get to interact with each other. It'll be rival universities, for example, that are now best friends on board and having to work at sea. Others have found their future supervisors for their postgraduate studies, and some of which have actually gone to sea with me because my background's in marine, as a marine technician, and we've been able to train them up and take them on other voyages, like, for example, going to Antarctica. So perhaps part of the biggest success of semester is that we've had this ability now to break down social, cultural, economical, and racial barriers which exist within our country, and thus then giving our students the opportunity to be built into the next generation of marine scientists. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Talia, for a great presentation on this semester, which is a wonderful example. And now we will have Danilo. We jump to the other side of the Atlantic, and Danilo is going to tell us about the type of training they have in Brazilian universities. Danilo, can you share your presentation? If not, I have it and I can share it for you. Are you there, Danilo? You are muted, so. Danilo? Well, maybe if...
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
To share the...
Do you want me to share your presentation?
I can share from here.
Okay, perfect. Perfect. Just put it in presentation mode. It's fine.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good afternoon to everybody. My name is Danilo Calazans. I'm going to present to you the floating teaching laboratories. In 2013, Brazil had 40 undergraduate courses. Now we have 43 in marine science, oceanography, marine biology, and fishing engineering, and also had 28 postgraduate programs. Our teachers are also included in this area. There was a consensus that for the integral training of academics in marine science courses, it was essential to have a good vessel as a floating laboratory. Therefore, the construction for new vessels were requested to and approved for the Ministry of Education in 2014. This vessel have as a main features length of 32 meters, a crew for 8 persons, and passengers, and accommodation for 18 passengers. It's 2 or 4 teachers, 14 or 16 students, and also have wet laboratory, dry laboratory, acoustic, and navigation, and 1 navigation house. Those are the 4 boats already done, and the main goals of these boats are provide undergraduate and postgraduate students for the last year of the course, and already have theoretical knowledge of all equipments on board, as they have already gone through disciplines that also deal with the sample equipments in this 8 to the students 120 hours on board, because the oceanographic course, they have to do 120 hours on board too, as a requirement for graduation. And they have to operate scientific and navigation equipments, collect and process and store biological samples, collect and treat abiotical data. With these laboratories, we did a standardization of data collection in marine science in those 8 main aspects in marine students. And they have already, because they are the last year students, they already have the theoretical knowledge of the equipments on board. And on boards, they need to collect data using different equipments, such as, for instance, plankton collections are carried out with different nets in horizontal, vertical, and oblique holes, for instance. Fishing are done, for instance, with three or four different nets. And we've got bottom samplers, CTDs, bottles, hydroacoustic equipment such as a scientific echo sounder, bathymetric echo sounder, and ADCP, fishing sonar, side scan sonar. They have to do everything on board. They do. The teachers on board, they seems like observers. If the students have something wrong, we are there for say, no, the proper way to do it is in that way, but they have to do everything. Launch and lifting of equipments are done by crew members, but students must operate them, saying how deep, how long they should be operating, reading and writing the results. All these students do that. And in 2013, as the meeting with the Minister of Education of our country, we said to him that vessels represent to the marine science course what hospitals are to the health sciences. And he said to us, well, that's it, you got your vessels because that is very important for marine science. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And now we will have Peter Kroot. So it was great to have this presentation by Danilo, and it's amazing how Brazil was able to convince the different universities to work together and build these ships, which are used for training throughout Brazil. Yes, Peter? We cannot hear you. Maybe.
Yeah, sorry, I just lost where the mute button was when I was getting everything set up.
Thank you.
Well, thanks for the opportunity to give this talk. I'm just going, basically I've got 3 slides, which are going to be a little bit different from what everybody else has been doing, where they've been outlining their programs. I'm going to take a...
Can you just put it in presentation mode?
Oh, is it not?
No. Thank you.
It's for me. Okay.
If not, it's okay. Don't worry. Maybe
it was, but I'll...
Don't worry. We could see it anyway.
Is that now?
Yes, perfect.
Okay. So what I wanted to do just was basically to synthesize a lot of what had already been talked about and what will probably be talked about before. Just a very quick bit of background. I've been involved in SMART and in activities which you'll hear about with POGO and the RV. And so I wanted to sort of outline 3 very quick challenges, which are basically what we're facing. And the first of these is how to optimize the outcomes from the wide range of possible experiences of at-sea training that we've got. So what I mean by this is that you have opportunities where perhaps 1 person goes on a research vessel, what others where there's 15 going. And the possible solutions for this is actually like what Aidan outlined before, was having these clear learning objectives for what people are going to do at sea, and then also linking these to shore-based or remote learning modules, as we were hearing about in the semester. So there's plenty of examples of this. And this will overall then help us to build the human capacity for ocean sciences in the Atlantic that we need. Oops, I got it the wrong way. The other one, or the second challenge that I wanted to bring up, and also we've heard elements of this with regard to semester and some of the other, the Brazilian one we've just seen, and that is that at-sea training is interdisciplinary, and it has a very unique set of educational aspects. So this is very much not like the conventional classroom environment. So in this regard, we shouldn't really just say that we're going out as teachers, because we're going out as teachers, coaches, mentors, and network facilitators. And we saw a good example in the semester just before, where that networking between the boundaries between the different cultural groups and the different universities were broken down. And that is one of the main things that comes out of most of this at-sea training. The other one I'd bring up is the idea of coaching and mentoring, particularly with regard to coaching and training of technicians. Often people are familiar with the equipment, but there may be certain aspects that they haven't come across because they're not as experienced as others. And so through these kinds of interactions, they may be able to be coached or to find a mentor to help them learn more and move forward. The last challenge that I wanted to focus on was basically comes out of what I call a stakeholder request. And we've already heard a little bit about this, and Siggy made a really good comment about this as well. And the request is usually along these lines, and that is, how can I get credit for going to sea, for the sea training that I did, and how can I get that recognized in the country or the institution that I'm in? So how do we build this into an Atlantic-wide recognition and credit for training at sea courses? Well, this kind of network, the Floating University, is probably perfect for that. And as we've already seen, we can learn from existing courses and programs. We can also work with the maritime industry because they've been doing this sort of training at sea for a very, very long time. The other thing I'd like to bring up just very quickly here is that there's the opportunity at the moment within Europe, but this can also be spread around the Atlantic, with regards to developing the sea training as potentially a continuing professional development course, which is what essentially the maritime industry do. And in this context, the EU at the moment is looking to develop what are called micro-credential courses. And you can see on the right-hand side of my slide that they actually have a public consultation open about this at the moment. And what micro-credential courses are basically where somebody can go out and perhaps do an exercise like this, get some credit for it, and those credits become what are called stackable and exchangeable. So they can add up towards a degree or some sort of qualification, and they can be used then towards some sort of professional development or attainment of certain skills. And the slide I always like to finish on is basically then, as we've already heard it a few times, is to try and align everything that we're doing with the UN Decade of Ocean Science and the UN Sustainable Goals. And so I'll stop there and try and work out how to stop sharing my screen.
Thank you so much, Peter, for these views. And now we will have Marete, who is going to give us an overview of the Nansen program. Thank you, Marete. Just if you put it just in presentation mode, it will be fine. Wonderful.
Thank you very much. So thank you, first of all, thank you very much for allowing me to speak at this site event. I am Merete Tanstad. I am the coordinator of the EF Nansen program. Some of you might know that this is a program, is a joint initiative by Norway and the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations. And that builds on more than 45 years of experience working on largely fisheries related issues and with combining fisheries management and ocean research. So this is a bit on the history of the program. It's probably one of the longest fisheries development programs, support projects in the world. And throughout the different phases, it is always adapted to the needs of its time. And as you can see also, the coverage of the program has been quite large in terms of the area covered, geographical area. Currently, we work with 32 countries in Africa, both Atlantic coast and Indian Ocean, and in the Bay of Bengal. And this is an illustration of the current phase in terms of the activities that we do. It started in 2017. A main goal throughout all phases has been in relation to advancing sustainable fisheries in order to improve food and nutrition security. And we do this particularly through implementing an ecosystem approach to fisheries. That means we look at ecological, social, and governance issues in relation to fisheries management, and then considering climate change and pollution, and then the related and underpinning necessary research to provide knowledge-based decisions and associated capacity development. Of course, as we heard before, global goals are important, and the program is aligned with global goals and also with the Ocean Decade. So I think over the years, this program has developed to be a collaborative platform for the oceans, for fisheries management, science, and capacity development. A new element of the current phase of the program is its science plan. So this guides the research work of the program and ensuring that research is related to fisheries management needs of partners, addressing global knowledge needs, but also regional. And also it's a vehicle for further development of capacities of partners to work together on specific research program. So these groups of scientists, they conduct high-level research, and these 11 areas of research have been identified in the program. A key tool for the program is the research vessel Dr. Fridtjof Nansen. This is a top modern research vessel owned by the Norwegian Agency for Development Cooperation, who's also supporting this program, and operated by the Institute of Marine Research of Norway in collaboration with the program. It's fully available to the program. And as you can see, it is equipped with full modern equipment for conducting research and fishing. And it's also have specialized laboratories to conduct different types of research. And it has available 10 cabins, normally I would say 10 cabins for national scientists with a capacity to host up to 19 national scientists from partner countries. And normally we conduct different types of survey depending on the needs of the regions and the countries that we work with. Typically resource surveys looking at abundance, distribution of main species, ecosystem surveys that look more broadly at the ecosystem and different components, specific ones on life cycle, for example, or also environmental monitoring or bottom habitat surveys. Oceanographic information, as Hidmi referred to earlier, is collected throughout the different surveys that we have. So normally there's a lot of activity going on and a lot of different work that is being conducted. So just to complement the work on the surveys, this is the technical training network. As we heard from some of the others, it's important to combine with other types of training, and these opportunities are available through the Nansen program, and it also provides some examples of the training we have done. And perhaps I would like to mention also the mentoring and studentship support. The possibilities for this, as we heard, could be an important complement. And maybe the studentship is interesting. We have just concluding now with 11 young students that are supported to contribute to the science plan. And I think, so what can we conclude based on this long-term work? I think we are very happy to see that the program is well known, and in some cases it represents the only opportunity for countries to obtain information or to assess status of resources and ecosystems. You can see here there's been a lot of participants on board, a lot of research days. Typically in a normal year you would have 270 days at sea, of course not currently, and you have a lot of exciting science going on. So looking also back, a lot of capacity built, and we're happy to see that some of them have now important positions in their national governments. And I think, as we heard also earlier, is that we have this key to success that we focus on certain management needs while producing irrelevant science, and with a strong focus on capacity development. So I think, thank you very much, and thank you for being able to present today.
Thank you, Merete. It was a wonderful talk. And now we will have Karen Wiltshire. She's going to tell us about POGO. And POGO could be a good opportunity for making people aware of any opportunities of training at sea. They are already doing it. And Karen, are you there? Are you? Karen?
Yes, I'm here. I'm all ears with my colleagues, and I'm just sharing the presentation. And thanking everybody for the really interesting presentations of your different capacity building programs. I hope you can now see mine and Aoife's slides. Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay. First of all, let me say that I am absolutely thrilled that so many people are doing shipboard training, because when we've started this many years ago, it was with the Irish actually, and they were already doing this fantastic summer school on the Celtic Explorer. And it was over a beer in a big meeting that I met Paula McGrain. You may know her, and we hacked up this idea that we would start sharing ships. And in the end, we came up with a program which kind of fitted all sorts of different sizes. And I'm just going to give you a small intro to this program. So it moved from the Celtic Explorer, basically a middle-sized ship, to the Polarstern, and in both cases, the programs that we run together, usually Peter and John Boyd are there, and we're all part of one big cohort in this. Well, we all have been following this through. So what we do when we have a small ship is that we, for example, just pick up one topic per one cruise unit, and the hours are, it's an hours or maybe a day. And one of the topics, for example, depending on where we are and the needs of the stakeholders, is fisheries. And we try to deploy small physical oceanographic sensors and, for example, whole zooplankton nets or such like in. Small training can be on everything from a very tiny, well-equipped in terms of seating, for example, just a small boat, through to, a boat which can take a few students. One doesn't have to go the big route in order to train well, is what I'm saying. And you can do an awful lot with a bucket, I always say. I think everybody needs to know how to use a bucket very well in oceanographic training. And then we spend a lot of time post-processing in the local lab, and the courses are augmented then usually with courses on land. And you do, which others have suggested here, you kind of go out in cohorts, sort of like the sea semester does. In slightly larger ships, you can take a much more multidisciplinary and maybe not quite such a focused approach. And you can do things like night shifts, which are really important if you're trying to have scholars understand what it means to be working at sea. People can get the feeling that they are actually living on board and interact with the crew. This is potentially one of the hardest things for young scientists to do, to ask crew to do things with them and to help them. As we all know, that's actually a challenge if you're a chief scientist on any vessel. So the quicker and the younger you learn how to do it, the better. And it also allows you to be out for longer and face challenging weather conditions, and you can decide whether you're going to be seasick for the rest of your life and to become a marine scientist or not. And it also allows for having to deal with stressful situations. Something that we all need to remember, that this is tough. It's not exactly something that you shake out of your sleeve with a small, in a small vessel. How we go about it on our larger vessels together is that we take people out for 3 to 5 weeks, and beforehand we have a very, very fair international advertising process, where in the last time we had 750 applications for places, with 15 different people vetting the applications of the scholars to ensure that we had a multicultural, multilingual, multi-country, very fair distribution, multi-gender pool of scientists on board. And then in the meantime, since 2015, this has become I would say, almost routine for us, because what we have done is we set up on each cruise, usually, for example, a big transit, a rotating module scheme whereby small groups get trained in every aspect that we can possibly provide on the ship. This is, for example, oceanography, climate and meteorology, and chemistry, for example. And one of the big things we've started to do is teach maritime law on board. The captain takes a very big interest in that. It's not so easy to take samples in other people's waters, and people have to learn how to go about applying for permits, and have to know that you can't just go into the. I always want to go into the confluence of the Congo because it always interests me so much, and that's a very long process to get permits, for example. And now in Europe, it actually has also become a bit of a hurdle which people have to learn. So if I will put a little film of the students' reactions, the scholars' reactions to one of our cruises into the chat, but let me just show you some of the things that we have taught them. First of all, safety at sea is an incredibly important thing to have to learn. Then we teach them what the organisms look like that they take in the samples. We teach them how to combine atmospheric measurements. For example, here is a profile of temperature from 3,500 meters in the atmosphere right down to the ocean floor. We teach them the principles of ocean-atmosphere interactions.
Karen, would you mind just wrapping up? I'm so sorry.
Yes, I'm just finishing right now.
Thank you.
Okay, I was just going to finish right now. And we teach them things like remote sensing. And of course, at the end of the day, the most important thing is interacting with students on land and schools on land and other people, outreach. Outreach also via large things like painting programs. This painting was handed over to the German government at the end of the cruise. And I'm going to just end this with a sentence which I think is extremely important for all of us, because I know that this is where we want to be. It's about peaceful scientific endeavor for a sustained global coastal and ocean future. And this multicultural interactions are of immense importance to all of us if we are going to try and have a sustainable oceanic future. I'm getting out of this.
So now we'll have Susan Haynes that is going to give us a perspective of training at sea in the US. Susan? Can you stop sharing your screen?
Yeah, I have done that.
Okay.
Thanks, Louise. I am sharing my screen now.
Okay.
Hopefully. Bear with me for a moment. Oops, that didn't work. Let's try that again.
Okay, it's coming. Nope, not yet. Yes.
Are you there, Louise?
Perfect.
Okay, something just said I disconnected, so bear with me.
Excellent. Yes, we are seeing your presentation. Oh, do you want me to share your presentation? I have it with me. I can also do that if you like. Susan, do you want me to share my screen? I have your presentation here. Susan, you're muted. If you wish, I can. Don't worry, I can show your presentation from here. If you just unmute yourself.
She's not connected anymore, I think.
No, she's there. I can see her.
Yeah, but her sound has gone. Her audio has gone.
Susan, don't worry. Can you hear us? Yes, okay. So what we can do is, I have here your presentation, but we cannot hear you. Are you sure you're not muted?
Louis, I suggest that Susan leave and come back into the meeting room. And in the meantime...
idea. So we go to Francois, and when you come back, we'll listen to you, okay? Okay, great. So Francois, are you ready to show us your presentation?
Yes, yeah, can you see it now?
Yes.
All right, so I'm François Lallier. I'm professor at Sorbonne University and I'm working in Roscoff, France. And I both represent the French Marine Universities Network. And I'm also, as a function of this, in the directory board of the Flotte Océanographique Française, the French fleet, which has been recently restructured, and you can see the internet site there. So I will send the new PDF version, so every little logo can be clicked on to have more information. So the French fleet is 7 marine station vessels, small vessels, operated by CNRS. 4 coast, so you can see it's along all the coast in France, Mediterranean and Channel and Atlantic here. 4 coastal vessels operated by Genavier with Ifremer, and 2 of them are in the Mediterranean area and 2 in the Channel and Atlantic area. And there are 6 large oceanic vessels which are operated by Genavier, except for the Marion du French, which is operated by another company. So that's the full range of oceanic vessels for day trips to long-range cruises. And when it comes to training at sea, the present situation is that we use a lot the station vessels during courses organized in the French marine stations. And these the Marine Universities Network I've shown you. You have 17 universities in this network with a lot of different stations. So there are a lot of courses happening in these stations, and there is international, mostly European access available in most stations. For example, I've show you the EMBRC Marine Biological Resource Center, which offers training in most of the European stations, not only the French one, but it's a European network. On for real training at sea, so this is small vessels during day trips, but training at sea included. For more 2-5 days on coastal vessels, we have mostly master level or engineer school courses, which are benefiting from this. So you have to apply for a proposal for this. And there is possible access for international courses. For example, at the IMBRC Erasmus courses, or through very different master levels in the 17 universities I've talked about. And the international access can be to these courses can be reached by Campus France here. So I've put a thing here. And we have also proposal for opportunity training sessions on oceanic vessels. For the present time, it's always alongside scheduled research cruises if berths are available. And this is mostly on larger vessels, pourquoi pas on Marion Dufresne, so that there is berths available for this. So that's the present status almost, and we have future prospects too. We have set up a new working group for training at sea at the Flotte Océanographique Française and coordinated with the Marine University Network. It started last year. No, not a good year to start something, but we will examine several possibilities. And so I'm very glad to hear all of you and all the experiences you have to improve the use of the French fleet for training at sea. Some possibilities are the use of transit time for training on coastal or oceanic vessels. And we could identify opportunities for this training the year before, and this could be advertised. Developed remote access for training with teachers on board and remote classes on land with active participation in preparation, operation, and analysis of data. For example, we have some of these with the Europe vessel in the Mediterranean near Nice and operating an ROV, Ariane. And the students here have seen all the gear in the port, but they have participated in the dive through remote operations. So we have a new operation going on this year, and we'll probably develop this a lot. And of course, we are willing to extend this sharing within the international trust like Eurofleets, OGO, and of course the All-Atlantic Ocean Research Agency. And that's all for me.
Thank you so much, Francois, also for keeping on time. We will have now Susan. I hope everything will be fine now. I'm sure it will. You're muted, so if you can.
Can you hear me now?
Perfect. And now we will be able to see.
Oh, yay. Okay, well, let's try sharing my screen and see what happens.
It'll be okay. Yes, yes, we are getting that.
Yes. And
perfect.
Presentation mode. Yeah, you got it?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful, great. Well, again, folks, my name is Susan Haynes, and I am an education program manager with NOAA's Office of Ocean Exploration and Research. I've also been the co-chair for, Luis, is everything okay?
It's not in presentation mode. Can you put it in presentation mode so that it becomes a bit bigger?
Of course I can.
Possible?
Better?
Not yet. Yes, perfect.
Okay, beautiful. Okay. I am also have been the co-chair for the US AORA Ocean Literacy Working Group. Very happy to be here with you all tonight. Again, I work with the Office of Ocean Exploration for NOAA in the US. There really are so many at-sea learning opportunities by way of the US colleges, universities, and private organizations. I couldn't even begin, as I'm sure many of you can't in your own country. Sorry, I'm getting a little bit static. So my intention today is just to speak to you from a NOAA lens in relation to the topics of US at-sea opportunities. And I wanted to start by just sharing with you one significant program that a lot of people don't know about, which is the NOAA Commissioned Officer Corps. It's one of the 8 uniformed services in the US, and they really play an integral role within the NOAA agency on our ships. These professionals are trained in a number of ocean science and technological related disciplines. And together with civilian professional mariners who are working on the ships, they run our NOAA fleet of vessels that are involved in hydrographic and fisheries work and oceanographic research and exploration. And these officers and crews support the science teams on board from various NOAA laboratories and the academic community. So it's really a different, incredible opportunity to work and learn at sea. And from our program specifically within NOAA Ocean Exploration, we have an Explorer in Training internship program that trains students in various aspects of ocean science and exploration, both on land and at sea aboard the NOAA ship Okeanos Explorer. And this began focusing on hydrography with over 140 undergraduate and graduate students or gap year students trained in techniques for seafloor mapping and data processing since 2008. And these are either onshore or ship-based opportunities. And this internship program has recently expanded to include new 10-week summer shore-based opportunities that cover more of our ocean exploration work and mission. And these opportunities focus on education, media, and science communication, operations and coordination, and science and technology. And also some of these students come to us through another major NOAA undergraduate scholarship program called the Educational Partnership Program with Minority Serving Institutions. So this program really is truly training the next generation of ocean explorers, just as all of the ones that we listened to earlier today are. And we're all building valuable skills for the job market. And it's evident from much of what you all have shared as well that the demand is out there. For this particular program, we've had 150 to 200 applications per year for 10 to 20 slots. I also wanted to note the work of one of our key partners in this realm, Ocean Exploration Trust, that operates the exploration vessel Nautilus. They operate a science and engineering internship program that trains community college, undergraduate, and graduate students by way of a 2 to 5 week internship program aboard the exploration vessel Nautilus. And these students are data loggers, seafloor mappers, remotely operated vehicle pilots, and video engineers. So they work directly with the scientists, the engineers, and also with educators to be exposed to all aspects of ocean science and exploration. There are many other at-sea opportunities for high school undergraduate and graduate students in the US, but as an educator who's dedicated to improving ocean literacy, I have to express the incredible value of getting educators involved in ocean exploration and research on land and at sea. And I know several of you mentioned Teacher at Sea programs. And here in the US, for the past 22 years, the NOAA Teacher at Sea program has provided over 800 kindergarten through college level teachers opportunities for hands-on real-world oceanic and atmospheric science experience working directly with ocean scientists and ship crew, and also giving them the opportunity to incorporate what they've learned into their classroom instruction, which is absolutely important. Additionally, our partners at Ocean Exploration Trust host a science communication fellowship program that immerses formal and informal educators as ocean exploration communicators aboard the exploration vessel Nautilus for 1 to 3 week long expeditions. And during this time, they're providing live online expedition commentary and ship to shore live interactions for the education community and for the general public. And lastly, I want to mention a new cooperative institute funded by NOAA Ocean Exploration and comprised of East Coast and Gulf Coast US partners that you see listed here. And through this cooperative institute, the Ocean Exploration Internship Program recently started and will continue to grow and evolve over the next several years with the goal of broadening our ocean-related workforce. So the details for that are certainly still in development and still evolving. I've really only touched on a few opportunities in the brief 5 minutes, but I wanted to pose a question, which I think many of you have answered in some respects, but perhaps it's worth more consideration. Just thinking about the level of communication that we're now doing virtually, what does the future of at sea look like? What does all the virtual capabilities that we have now mean in relationship to ocean exploration, to ocean literacy for our society, and to future careers that support the blue economy? this whole concept of a floating university is really important, I know, and nothing beats an at-sea experience. But if we want to reach more students with the skills that are coming in the 21st and 22nd century, how do we reach beyond what we have now and use the ship-to-shore communications that we have now? And perhaps we can consider that a little bit more as this conversation goes forward. Thanks very much for your time, and thanks for your patience with the presentation.
Thank you so much, Susan. And the main thing is we are a few minutes out schedule, so if you agree, we can continue for another 15 minutes, 20 minutes. So we have some time to discuss a few things between all of us. And now I would ask our colleague Johan Augerstein to tell us about one of the demonstration cruises that we are going to do for training technicians in the Agulhas. Yes, Johan?
Good day, everybody. I'm Johan Augerstein. I'm the Executive Secretary of the South African Deep Sea Trawling Industry Association. And you might ask, why is an industry person involved here? Essentially, I have a history of involvement in marine science and had a long collaboration through the BCLME, the Benguela Current Large Marine Ecosystem with Werner. So that's how I got involved. Let me just put up the presentation. I hope we...
Yes, it's getting there.
It's getting there, is it?
Yes. Put it just in presentation mode. It'll be fine.
Okay, you can see it?
Yes.
Thank you. So Ziggy mentioned earlier technical training. Werner mentioned it. It's a very important aspect of marine science, making sure that we've got technical people with the right skills. And it has been developed as one of the three major components of Anchor Work Package 3, the capacity building work package. So the idea is to address a lack of ongoing technical training, especially with regard to the practical side, oceanographic instrument deployment and maintenance at sea, and also dealing with the data afterwards, having proper data management skills, making sure that you get decent data. You've heard about the other components. This is the floating university component we're talking about today, and it's part of that. So one way in which technical training can be furthered is through ships of opportunity. And this is just a brief look at a pilot project, part of WP3, which exemplifies how one can jump on opportunities. We had a brainstorming session within the group, and we looked at the possibility of technical training workshops on board the SA Agulhas 2. Came up as part of that discussion. And you just heard from Talia about the 10-day semester training cruises. We explored that as a possibility to integrate these technical training workshops that we had in mind with ongoing surveys. And I had a discussion with Isabel Ansorg about this, whether instead of applying for a separate project through the Department of Technology and Innovation, that we would rather integrate it into the semester training cruises. Those cruises generally take up to 100 people on board, students and lecturers. And Isabel agreed that we could include up to 20 technicians on these cruises. So the idea is to fully integrate this with the cruise objectives. You heard about the annual transit that they do, and with the academic work that is being done. These 20 technicians should come from hopefully several countries, up to 10 perhaps, and be trained by 3 to 5 senior technicians and lecturers. The SA Agulhas is a fantastic platform for this, 130 meters vessel. As I said, a staff or a passengers complement of up to 100 people. She's an icebreaker that can operate in all sorts of circumstances, but in this case, just off the South African coast. So the first task was to get approval, and we went to Department of Technology and Innovation. The chief director there was Gilbert Siko, and we also approached the Department of Forestry, Fisheries and Environment to get approval for the vessel, because it's operated by that department, by Ashley Naidu. And the University of Cape Town, as we said, offered to accommodate the workshops, and that has now been approved by DTI, so we're on our way. The Cape Peninsula University of Technology, David Walker, being the person there, offered to develop a curriculum for this, and we'll hopefully be able to achieve that with input from our partners going forward. We also approached several other programs and companies to provide equipment, and we have offers of equipment supply which can be used for this purpose. That would be ROVs, AUVs, and all the normal oceanographic equipment that one would normally deploy. Of course, the vessel already has some equipment available, and we'll just jump onto that. So the idea is to plan this further in the next few months, and if it's successful, hopefully, we can repeat this in future on these SA Agulhas 2 semester cruises, and hopefully it would provide a replication model for other training initiatives where we have a technical training component on many of these cruises, since it's recognized as such an important component. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Johan. So I think we now have some time for some discussion on this. So I hope that although this was quite an overload of presentations, and we were aware of that when we made the plan, but the idea is that we get to know each other and that we know some of the programs that are going on. There are many others. We have many in Portugal. There are many other countries which have programs. But anyway, we want to give a perspective of some of these programs that are going, and we selected a few which have different types of people they want to reach. And so I hope this has given everyone an overview of what we have and the chances that we have when we make this network, what we can gain from it. And so I would really like now some of you to tell us something. Maybe Kelsey, since you are one of the Atlantic Youth Ambassadors, would you like to say something?
Yes, thank you so much for giving me the floor, Luis. I am so excited to be here today to just share some of the more youthful, not that I feel so silly feeling like I'm so young when I'm in my late 20s, but I just came off of VCOP Day where I was presenting and I was co-moderating the first session, the first 4 hours, and some of you were there, including Zuzia, who had an excellent contribution to that. And I think it's so great to really see early career researchers at the forefront and really being thought of by the rest of the ocean community, especially during the ocean decade. Also, just earlier today, I know my fellow All-Atlantic Ocean Youth Ambassadors hosted an event on opening doors for early career researchers, and that is what this Floating Universities Network really will do. So we just really appreciate that, and I know all my fellow ambassadors were so excited to hear about this initiative. I was very fortunate to be able to receive some training at sea after my bachelor's, and that was the moment. I was on a EV Nautilus cruise, as mentioned by Susan in the overview of the US programs, and I got to spend 4 weeks at sea just after I finished my bachelor's, working with ROVs, data logging, processing samples, learning what it was like to go 18 hours working straight because the ROV kept coming up, and I was so excited and I loved it. I loved every minute of it. So that is where I decided that I wanted to be a deep sea ecologist. And now I'm in a PhD program at the University of Edinburgh, and I study cold water corals. And I'm just getting chills because I'm thinking about what an incredible opportunity that program offered me. And it breaks my heart to know that other people might not have those same access to opportunities that I was fortunate enough to have. So just hearing that this is being launched and knowing that my other early career researchers will soon have more and more opportunities to really go at sea, learn hands-on, is incredible. My partner, he has an industrial mechanics certificate, and to think if he got the certificate without having that hands-on training, what would it mean? So knowing that people who will have these degrees in marine science, in oceanography, can also say on their CV, I've spent X amount of time at sea, I am fully trained, I'm ready to go, put me on that ship, I'll know what to do, is incredible agency. So thank you so much for helping this get off the ground, and I hope to sail with some of you one day.
Well, thank you, and we will need your input in this as well. So we'll be contacting also the ECOPs, so that the ECOP network, so that you can also help us to jointly design this network. I think I've seen Karim, and then Johan, and I think Mafalda also raised their hand before. So Karim, yes, please.
Yes, thank you, Luis. I would like to thank all the panelists and their intervention. Just a question, maybe, please, to Karine and Suzanne. What are, in point of view, the opportunities for the African countries? I mean, for the POGO program, what is the opportunities for that, and maybe the outlooks for that? And also, is there any program from Noaa? This is a question to Suzanne. Is there any opportunities for Noaa to work in African countries? And of course, we have a good opportunities of on-course training workshop. This is not a question, but I think we can take this opportunity for that. Thank you, Luis.
Yes. Susan and Karen, would you like to answer to Karim?
I can answer for POGO. Well, actually, Africa is in the forefront of, particularly West Africa, is in the forefront of POGO's interests, I would say, for quite a while. And we have an African group in POGO, which manages itself to some degree. So that answers that question. And the other thing is that we also in POGO have a sensor building program with the African countries, where we're building marine sensors, which are, I would say only a few dollars with these countries. So yes, Africa is well linked to POGO.
Thank you. Susan, would you like to add something?
Sure. And Karim, I can't say I'm super well versed on all of the opportunities within Noaa. We're a huge organization, but we do have a Noaa fleet of vessels that work through universities across the planet and bring research students and educators out on those vessels, along with our UNOLS vessels. But I can certainly offline get you a little bit more input from some of the higher ups in our organization to answer that question better.
Thank you. Johan, you had something you would like to say? Johan, you are muted.
Yes, Luis, thank you.
Oh, sorry.
Luis, I just wanted to stress or fasten on to one of the things that Ziggy said, and that was about also bearing in mind that one needs to sell many of these programs to important people. And so bringing managers, and I would say even industry leaders on occasion onto these cruises is a very important step to take. I remember some years ago when I was responsible for setting TACs for a range of fisheries in South Africa, we had a lot of opposition from fishing companies in setting sardine and anchovy TACs. And when they did not understand the process, essentially, and we were able to take them out on a research vessel, take them through the whole process of setting that TAC. And in the end, they all came around and supported the program and its outcomes. So it's just something I wanted to stress how important it is, and we should keep that in mind on many cruises. Thank you.
It's really important. Mafalda?
Thank you. First of all, I would like to thank the possibility to be participating in this session. It was really helpful and really inspired to see all these initiatives. In Portugal, like Adawan said, we also hard to having a floating university on board of our new vessel, or at least refit vessel. And I also like to stress the fact that despite we are doing this as a local initiative in Portugal, it was really helpful to have the support of Eurofleets, because sometimes to start these things is not that easy. And once you put everything together with the support of those who knows better what to do, it just makes things so much easier. So we'd not even have started this floating university, and we just cannot wait for the next one, because everyone into my institute get this sense of feeling that we're doing something that it should be done. So thank you for this session, but also for Eurofleets to allow us to do this. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mafalda. Bjorn?
Yes, I would also like to thank you for being part of this session, and it was really interesting to follow this. I would like to respond to Karin's question about opportunities for African students. So we are organizing 2 floating universities, one in 22 and one in 23, as part of the West African program called VASCAL. So VASCAL has about a dozen graduate schools in West Africa, and one of them is about climate change and marine sciences, which is being hosted in Cabo Verde. And so we will organize one for, I think, 16 students from 11 West African countries will join us on 22 on Marian for a floating university between Cabo Verde and Europe. And in 23, we will also have another floating university in spring. And this will be for the 3rd cohort of this master program. And the call is out at the moment. So the call for this master program in Cabo Verde, where full scholarships are available. And these cohort of students, they will join us in 23 on that floating university. So these are 2 opportunities. And I have a question, actually, I wanted to ask the more experienced people, because we are new to this business, so to say, and it's really great to learn so much from this community. So I would like to know how the different organizers from these floating universities deal with attracting lecturers, to getting them on board to dedicate their time for 3 weeks or so being on board working with the students. So probably there are many motivated lecturers, senior scientists out there, but how to get to know about them. So what I would expect from this group and what's being developed out of this initiative is to have a kind of database, and where people can just raise their hands and say, well, I have this experience, I would be happy to contribute, and please approach me. So something like that. So that would be great.
Yes, Bjorn, if I can just quickly give a short answer. The idea of promoting this network and creating this network is exactly that we have this type of information available, and we have a holistic perspective, and we work together. But also, one of the things I've done for many years sometimes, and it's easy to involve researchers, is sometimes some of these training cruises, we do what we call training through research. So actually you have a scientific purpose, you have a scientific objective, and therefore the scientists are fully interested. And then you invite people to come on board to do the training. So they do the training while they are doing actual research. So it's just not training how to lower and bring up a CTD or a rosette or whatever. So we have a clearly specific scientific objective. It could be scientific, but it could be social. It could be something related to fisheries. It could be something related to any other issue like pollution or whatever. But if you give it a clear focus on a specific topic, you will certainly find people interested in joining. I don't know if, Lillian, would you like to add something on this?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I raised my hand mainly to complement Karen's comments for Karim on but also to others, just to mention that our activities in West Africa through the Ocean Training Partnership and our POGO partners in West Africa, we just held Gulf of Guinea cruise training, where we provide training to 6 trainees from the region, and also extending invitation to everyone here through their floating university trainings we had in the past, also with the French fleet They have these moose crews providing training to master's students in France, and with unused bird, we were able to provide to Egyptian and other national trainees joining. So I add in the chat here the link for the Ocean Training Partnership, and where we have an open call to have training partners joining us. And yeah.
Okay, one thing I would like to tell everyone is that we have recorded this meeting essentially for the minutes. Before sharing it with everyone that was attending the meeting, we will ask the presenters if they agree. If everyone agrees, we'll be openly share it. But we don't want to share anything without having people's agreement, okay? So that's the only thing. So I don't know if anyone would like to add something. If not, we are already well advanced on time. So few things. So now, what are we going to do? So in this month, we are still preparing now, already preparing now a terms of reference for the network, which we will be sharing with the different participants here who already have a program. And we will co-design it and see what we want from this network. I had the experience, and we are basing also a bit these terms of reference on the experience I had for a few years in participating as a Portuguese representative on ERVO, which is the European Research Vessel Operators Network. And this is a network where people were discussing together the different types of problems they have with the ships. They were trying to do things together. They were doing standardization of operations. Even they were looking what should be the next generation of ships, green ships and silent ships, what they could do. So this is a forum on which, if we all collaborate, we can learn a lot from each other. Also looking at different perspectives, and I would like to highlight that not only you need to have huge means and do training in the deep sea. You can do a lot of training in coastal areas. Also, this has lots of societal relevance, looking at issues like coastal protection, engineering problems, erosion and things like that, and pollution. And in these cases, even without a very impressive system for communication, you can easily use broadband to communicate with shore. Also, sometimes we do cruises even in coastal areas like here in a barrier lagoon system on which people learn how to use the equipments when they are relatively close to shore without having problems of seasickness and so on. So there are many opportunities and you don't need to have huge means to do these things. What we hope also is that once we get all together, that some of us will open some places, some of our berths in the Floating University initiatives that we already have to an all-Atlantic call. And this could be a problem because when you think, okay, I'm going to have a call on which I may have a few hundred people applying and I will have 10 or 20 places. Pogo has already a long experience on this and they are highly involved with us in this, and Karen is here and Lilian and so on. And so they are already used to do this and we can easily progress. So this was just some of the comments. So we will send these terms of reference and we hope that in September, if everything goes well, we'll have the first official meeting of the network. So we have two more people, Karen and Andy. I'm not sure. I think Karen raised her hand first.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, I'll be quick. I just wanted to say that yesterday we had the idea to do a joint experiment, including a capacity building at sea as one big giant thrust so that everybody sees it. Many people thought this was a good idea, and I think we should follow it up. And especially after seeing today what the capacity is overall for teaching and at sea, we could be one giant floating university with different sub-faculties or units.
Exactly. Yes, Andy?
Yes, well, first of all, thanks very much, Zuzla and Lewis. That was a very, very good presentation there, and I followed it quite nicely, and I've written quite a few things down. I agree with what Karen has just said, and the potential of this can be very good, and it can go out in very, very many ways, which is very exciting. So it's something certainly to develop. Now, just to let you know, I've got one possible resource that I've got here. It's 15 years of beach cleaning, which is the result of pollution or the cause of pollution, and one can talk about that. Now, it's certainly a lot of data analysis collected over 15 years without any break whatsoever. And some of it has been used for the European Union directive some years ago. The rest of it has been for various other beach cleaning worldwide, as well as nationwide in Britain, British nationwide projects. So things like that, for instance, may well be tangential for the deep sea and the oceanography, but I think it's been important for the IOC in the past, and I just wondered whether or not that could be used in one of these ways by anybody present or anybody in the future. If so, then I can work to develop that. I've certainly got all the data analysis, that's all been collected. 15 consecutive years, as I said, once every 3 months, that's a total of 60 beach cleaning 16 beach cleaning days full of analysis without a break, and it's there. I've got to basically make a bit more sense of it, but then it could become a data analysis after a lot of collection if it's going to be of use. So can I just put that to yourselves, and if that is going to be of use to anybody, then I can try and develop that and incorporate that in the floating the floating ships network. Can I just leave that with yourselves?
Yes, thank you so much, Andy, for this very nice suggestion.
Okay.
I think we will finish in about 5 minutes. The meeting will end, and so I think we are about it. If does anyone have any particular thing they would like to say more? If not, I will just share with you so that we go home with some. I hope you are seeing my screen. And this is, do you see it? So this is just to show you the type of things that we can do also on non-conventional ships, and looking at different ages also. So this is a cruise that we did with students from different levels. It's mainly ocean literacy thing. But as you can see, we can easily do something like this. It takes 2 minutes. So once we start with them, so we take them on the river. And this is an old caravel, an old Portuguese caravel. It was a bit tricky to put some equipment on board, but if you can do it. So we explain them how you can get oceanographic data. You also can tell them about so we tell them about physical oceanography. They see how we lower a CPD, and then they see the results and they discuss with everyone what's going on. This is the smallest children that we got on board, and many of them are extremely interested. We also tell them, we divide them into groups. Some are learning about the Portuguese voyages during the discovery. Here, one of our colleagues is telling them about the geology of river estuaries. And then they also learn about knots. And just to go quickly, we also use some geophysical equipment. And they see how you can acquire multi-beam data, side scan sonar, seismic. Also, in the end, we let them, so you see they are really quite excited normally. And some of them want to take pictures and so on. So they are happy in the end. We let them drive a bit also the ship. So this is just to give you an idea of different things that you can do while you do training at sea. So there are many, many different opportunities. And I thank you all for being here, and hope that we can all together build this network and be able to produce something really useful for the Atlantic community. Thank you so much, and we'll keep in touch with you, and see you on the next meeting.
Cheerio, everyone.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Of course, you can send us
Bye. See you then.
any suggestions, almost welcome.
Thank you very much for the very nice idea.
Thank
The
you.
fantastic idea, Jose, Luis.
Well, you've been involved in this since the beginning, Danilo. You're one of the leading of the team, leading parts of the team.
Merci beaucoup, Luis. Josea, OK. Thank you very much. Donc, à bientôt. Merci.
Bye bye. Bye bye to all.
Bye bye. Au revoir.
Compliments to everyone.
Merci, Siggy. Ravi de vous voir aujourd'hui. Merci.
Now let's get down to work. Bye.
Meret, also all the colleagues. Gentlemen, مع السلامة.